For the next hour, we've got the student panel session. So previous years, we've done a panel session and it's proved really popular, although last year we only did it for half an hour, so it's been extended. So we've got an hour to grill these students, right, and use it as the best customer feedback session that we've had. So yesterday's talk from Andy was all about, the customer and getting information from the customer and, who is a customer. Today, the customers are the students. So I've done a Twitter poll as well of how many people engage with students. That's 7 people, bless you. 7 people responded, so that's how popular it is. Some people do engage with students, some people don't engage with students. Use this as an opportunity to engage with students. Massive conference take that. For our next project, we've engaged with 4 students, and this is their thoughts. It can go in any business case. Okay, it doesn't matter that they're not your students. I'm sure they've got similar ideas of what your students at your institution would like. So I'm going to introduce the panel. First of all, we've got Kellyanne. Kellyanne is from Edge Hill University. She's doing a placement with IT, and she's second year, just finished the second year of a business and economics degree. Next to Kelly is Martina. Martina is the service desk manager at MMU. Martina is doing a part-time master's degree at MMU in business and analytics, just finished the first year. So I'll be interested to see the service that Martina is offering versus the service she is receiving. Next to Martina is Abdi. Abdi is he's doing a placement student at Leeds Beckett. So he's on placement at Leeds Beckett, but he's a business and IT student in his penultimate year. And then at the end we've got Chaba, who is a help desk analyst up at Robert Gordon University. He is studying information security. So all those people that are after some information security, he's going to get paid loads as soon as he's finished. Because it's a big buzzword out there. Everyone's after it. We're trying to interview for it. They want loads. They want 70 grand a year, chap. So, mate, just get that degree sorted because you're going to be flying with that at the end. It's going to be really good. So the hashtag for this session is just like Dimbleby. So you can use UCISA-SSG16 as well. I haven't got any badges, so it's not worth bribing me for any of those. So, first of all, in order for this to work, you lot are going to have to ask questions. Right? So we've got Ali and Chris with roving microphones. So please just use this as an opportunity. Have we got someone that wants to pose the first question? It will be a slow session if only one person is going to put their hand up. I think we've got one over there from Chris.
Can I ask, how have the IT services provided by your university impacted on the studies that you've undertaken?
Who wants to take that first? Kellyanne?
Personally, I'm an out-of-university student. I don't live on university campus. So IT services hasn't really impacted my studies. I use my own computers at home and my own software. Okay. Abdi, have you got a different viewpoint on?
For me personally, when I use the library, IT services work with the library team, and basically I loan out equipment like laptops and softwares. And the good thing about my university is we got like off-site resources, so we could use my Becker, and there's resources there that I can use off-campus that helps with my studies if I'm not at the university. The good thing about this year is I noticed more investment within IT services, so there's a lot more new technology going around, and I think with students, you would want like devices that are more mobile than you usually get from other sort of IT companies or IT services out there. So yeah, that's how it impacted my studies. Anyone else?
Interesting.
Yeah, I can answer as well. So basically for me, it is IT services is affecting all part of my studies because I'm studying computing. So with new technologies coming in all the time, then basically IT services need to keep up. And I understand that it is also for lecturers and for IT support, it is a hard job, but they are doing a good job. So, for example, for one of my modules, we were doing web development and security, and everything was done in the cloud. While we, inside RGU cloud is not that implemented, they still found a way through DreamSpark to actually do a full development cycle. So I'm not doing development on a stick. I'm doing it on my computer, gets synced to a cloud account, and that gets automatically published on the web. So if I want to see it, if I want to change anything, it is a lot easier to do it, and I can do it from everywhere.
Okay. Have we got another question? Over on the left.
Hello. Just a question about communications. If we want to try and get across perhaps either new services or if there are a problem or incident, something's not working, how do you think students would want to have that communicated to them? Is there a single social media that we should use, or is it trying to sort of cover all the possible bases? What's the best way?
Abdi, I'll give you that first of all.
Okay, for me personally, I use a mix of social media, so I tend to use Twitter for the latest news, where Facebook's more personal. So for me, following the Leeds Beckett Library or Leeds Beckett ITS account and getting that latest update on maybe new software, or just getting the latest notice on refurbishment or other things I could think of top of my head is, you know, just having that, getting that platform to get regular updates is, me personally, is what I like. And I think there's going to be probably new social media coming in the future. And I think just get, a bit nervous, sorry. I just think just giving that students the more opportunities to communicate with the university is a good way of doing things.
Martina, what are your views on communication from someone that has to send out communication from students to someone who's also on the receiving end of student communications?
So, as a personal preference, maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned as a mature student, but I would personally prefer email, with maybe a link to a website for more information if you want to find out more. But I have not received a single email from IT services in my year at MMU. I don't know what the situation is at other institutions, but we are heavily discouraged from spamming students via email.
Should we have a quick poll? Hands up. Who in this room is able to send out all student emails relating to IT services? It's not many, is it, really?
Who really isn't allowed at all?
Who's not allowed? We're not allowed. Banned. Students' Union can spam them, but we can't.
Yeah, I had a lot of emails from the Student Union. I also had a lot of emails, quite unfortunately, offering courses, English courses for speakers of other languages, which I found almost disappointing because I'm proudly bilingual and I didn't think I needed that. But yeah, it was almost weekly, so didn't need that, but actually other departments have been completely silent. There's also a lot of library loan notifications, which actually end up spamming you eventually. But again, nothing from IT.
Kellyanne, how do Edgehill communicate with you?
Edgehill use a lot of email-based, like, when they want to say something, they send it through email because we use Blackboard. So a lot of students download the Blackboard app on their phone, so we get notifications straight away. And I agree, I'd prefer email from IT services, or even using monitors around the campus, because a lot of students are walking about, going to the restaurants, shops, so it's probably the best way to communicate with us.
Go on, Martina.
I just remembered one more thing. And that's something I never thought of until I started studying, is the importance of lecturers and them being 100% informed about everything IT related, because they're actually going to be the first point of contact for students, because they're going to be teaching them about the software that they need to use, and they're going to be helping them log on to their PCs probably for the first time. So it is really their knowledge that's going to impact the students most, I think.
Keeping on the communications theme, we had a 2020 from Bob yesterday. which was really good about the communications plan that Sheffield University do for their students. How much of this bump that we put together and spend a lot of time and a lot of thought going into, do you actually use or find useful, Abdi?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, how much of the communications bump or guff or whatever that we're going to bill it as today? So, the handouts, the tweets, the marketing campaigns around IT. How much do you, A, find useful and B, read?
For me personally, I prefer more face-to-face communication. So maybe if I'm popping down to my library, there's someone telling me the latest updates on IT or other ways. I think what universities should do more would be giving students preferred choices on communication, because just from the looks on our panel, everyone's got different methods that they prefer. I don't prefer emails, because I think emails, it's a bit too old-fashioned for me. So I think getting that option to choose what you would get would be an ideal way of doing things. And and that's it really, yeah.
Okay, Chaba, how about your perception of communications and how they've come through from Robert Gordon and the different types that you've had?
So, sometimes it can feel overwhelming, because especially I saw this one as a new student when I joined. There is information in the first week, so I guess most of the universities have induction weeks. You get so much information, and it gets into a folder, you go home, put it on the shelf, and there it stays. So my preferred method is to search for things. So I like email, if it is something important, but otherwise, I just think that we should be able to find information where we need it. It is not all the time the information coming to you, and basically you need to navigate to see, okay, I don't need that one, I don't need that one, I don't need that one. I should be able to find whatever I need. And I think we are doing that quite well. So at RGU, now they said in the help desk, we got short videos, which are telling people about the service that does exist. And after that, they can find out what they want, whether they are interested in it or not. And I think that's pretty good.
Okay, that's interesting. A couple of days ago, so from what you say, face-to-face seems good. A couple of days ago, I was in a meeting with the library about library tours. And it lasted about half an hour, a big presentation about how they're going to engage people to do a tour of the library. Now, I was sat there probably the most disengaged at that point, because I was thinking, you just go in and just find a space and do what you want. Yeah, here's another book, there's a computer, you can't eat there, you can shush there. It's that kind of thing that was going through my mind. And then we looked at what Bob had produced with Google Cardboard and, the interactive tours of the library that seemed much more engaging and much more, from my point of view. But, maybe I'm just trying to embrace the technology in the area I've worked with. Kellyanne, what do you think about, the old school way of showing people versus Bob's new school way of showing people using Google Cardboard?
To be honest, I prefer the old school way, because if you're face-to-face, you know if the person's understood what you're saying to them.
Sorry, Bob.
And where you're showing them, you can see if they're confused or if they want to ask a question. Whereas if they're sitting behind a computer, they might have more questions, and there might not always be a link for them to ask them questions.
Excellent. Anyone got any other kind of communication-y based questions? There we go. Come on, Chris. Good job you're not wearing your box.
In one of the talks yesterday, one of the presenters put up Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is a typical management way of saying the things that really matter to you. And they suggested that Wi-Fi was at the bottom. And regardless of exactly where you put it in the hierarchy, it clearly doesn't go at the bottom. But anyway, would you say that the three things that you most need IT-wise from your university are Wi-Fi, email, and something else? And if you do think that, what's your something else?
I love that question. I love the fact that you've immediately picked 2 out of the 3 which you think they need, right? And you're giving them an option to pick 1 more, right? So you've only got 1 more. You need Wi-Fi and email, right? What do you think? Well, Abdi, what do you think?
Me personally, it's PC availability. because during exams periods, you know, when you've got a lot of assignments and stuff like that, a lot of the students, they tend to use a lot of the PCs in the library and they tend to be full. My university has a PC availability webpage, and it's useful, but I think that could be a bit more user-friendly. The other thing is, I put Wi-Fi on top because with Wi-Fi, I've got iPad or laptops or my phone, and you know, if I want to use the internet, Wi-Fi's up there. And I think with my university, they're currently in the process of upgrading its Edgeroom network. So yeah, that's my answer.
Kellyanne, what do you think? What about the services that you want from IT? You can make up your own, you can have more than one choice, promise.
No, I agree with Wi-Fi. Everyone needs and wants Wi-Fi. I mean, even buses have Wi-Fi now. Everyone wants to use it. I agree with email as well, because I'm quite old school. I do prefer my emails. And I think they need tech ready and open for students when they need it, whether that be tablets, laptops, cameras, you name it, they should have it there ready.
Okay, Martina, from a different perspective in offering services, what are you seeing that's coming in as you know, from the service desk perspective, the requests coming in from students, and then what you then require when you step out of your role and into the lecture theatre?
It was already mentioned, but I think for postgrad students, the key really is being able to work on your own in the middle of the night, probably from home, and knowing that you can rely on everything to work in the middle of the night, that you can do all your research the weekend before your hand in, that you don't have to you know, work that contingency timeline just in case things are not working. That's not how students want to think or should be thinking. They just need to rely on the technology to be there when they need it, up until their hand-in times. So yeah, working remotely and flexibly that's everything you can do in terms of that is extremely helpful. So online timetables, still not quite there. I think some courses still don't have online timetables. And for me, the one thing that came as a big surprise, and you shouldn't have done, but I did, was when I was asked to write a 3-hour exam by hand, which I haven't done in a very long time because I'm completely paperless in my job. And it just came as a big surprise that the university doesn't have a possibility to do online exams or computer-based exams, and that, you know, I felt like I could actually do a lot better. I could write a lot more in 3 hours if I had 10 fingers as opposed to one hand. So if that's possible, I know it's logistically extremely difficult, but if it is possible, I think that would really make the experience better.
We do still teach kids at school to write, though. I can verify that. So it is still a skill needed as well as typing. Java, would you agree with that from someone that's studying and working as well at the same time?
I don't see email as top 3, because for me, what is, first of all, it is not necessarily Wi-Fi internet connection, because for the things that I'm doing, Wi-Fi is not that good. So I need internet connection. And the other thing that I would like to see, I'm not sure whether ever it will happen, to not need to go to lectures. So for me, it doesn't work out to sit in a room for 2 hours and watch PowerPoints. I would rather have recorded video with lecturer being available online, in person, whatever, for questions. Because scheduling your time all the time that, yeah, I need to go for that lecture, and sitting in that room when you know that you have other more important things to do, it is not really good. So you can watch the video or whatever, a recorded lecture, and after that ask questions. So for me, that will be most probably on second place.
That's interesting, because at MMU, our new pro-VCs for education's come in, and lecture capture is now the new thing that we need to do and deliver. So, you know, recording lectures, making them available online. Kellyanne, is that something that you'd find useful, do you think? Or would you rather go and sit in the lecture theatre?
I don't think any student would want to sit in the lecture theatre. I think it would be useful, but at the same time, how do you know that your students are watching it? I mean, there's so many students that wouldn't even bother watching it because they can get away with not watching it. No one's keeping tabs on them. So a lot of students could potentially fail the course, and it's that personal interaction with your lecturer after the lecture if you've got questions that students need.
So there's a potential risk if everything gets moved online that actually students, it'll be easier for students not to engage than engage with their course. Martine?
I think it really depends on the size of your course. From discussions with some students on management courses, they said there were 700 people in their biggest lecture theatre at one time, which I can imagine you'd probably rather watch it from home because you might as well, because it's not at all personal. But on my course, in most lectures we had about 6 people, and that was the best times of the whole year for me. The lectures were actually really interesting, completely engaging. We were sharing experiences amongst the students because as part-time students, a lot of us are working. And obviously talking to the lecturer in a completely different way. So I definitely would not want to have that taken away.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so I was speaking only about lectures, not about tutorials and labs. So I still want to keep the tutorials and labs. It is only the lecture part.
So you want a mixture of online lecture where you know, it's a big group.
I want to see, so when I'm going to the lab, I want to be prepared for the lab. So I don't want to go, like when you go to the lecture, you see the lecturing part. And if you need some time to think through whatever you see, and after that you can ask questions. But personally, I don't see a reason why I would want to sit in a room to look to PowerPoints for 2 hours.
Okay. No, that's great. It's great. Right, next question. Oh, look, here we go. People are getting the swing of it. 2 off this table. Chris.
Oh, yeah. As a student, before I started working in IT, I always perceived IT as people hidden away in a basement somewhere.
Like the IT crowd?
Yeah.
And the Lego figures that Anna mentioned. That's got most traction on Twitter today.
But my question is, do you feel as students that you can go up to your various IT departments if you have a problem and communicate a problem with them and say there is something wrong, or do you almost feel like there is almost a barrier between them as staff and you as students? Like, do they feel approachable in a way, or do you just see them as staff that you wouldn't want to go up to?
Yeah. Bearing in mind, when you answer this, these are the people which you might approach. Some might not look too approachable, but Kellyanne, what do you think about that? Is IT an approachable department within your university?
Well, before I did my placement there, no, I've got to be honest, I didn't even know where it was in the university. It was at a back building at the very end of the campus. So when I initially went for my placement, I had to ask directions. So that's how bad I was. So I can imagine loads of students were in my place. Not only that, it's kind of intimidating when you go into a room full of computers and people just working at computers. Half the time you don't want to disturb what they're doing. So you kind of don't want to ask. You don't want to stop them from working. So it can be intimidating, I do think.
Abby, what do you think about Leeds Beckett and how approachable they are? Yeah, we've heard from Eleanor this morning. If she's not approachable, I don't know who is in this room after that presentation.
From my experience, before I started my placement with the university, I tend to use my faculty's technicians. It's called AET, and their service desk was pretty approachable. Whenever I had issues with my password, or any issues with the labs, you know, I would go in there and there would be, it was a bit more like open area, and the equipment was organized at the back, so it wasn't like I was intimidated, and when I went in there, it was friendly, you know, there was on the ball, and you know, every time, you know, they were on the money, resolving my issue and stuff like that. When I'm going back to my final year, I do definitely look forward to using the library a lot more, because with Eleanor's refurbishment, the area is a lot more open area now, as you see in the pictures. It's you got the opportunity to be able to bring your device or whatever, bring your queries, and it's the staff there are they're very approachable, friendly, and they're very nice, and you know, can't wait for it, to be honest. But yeah.
That's good feedback. You made someone happy at the back there. Chava, have you got any thoughts about how approachable IT is as a department?
Well, for us it is really easy. I'm seeing students, so we have a customer-facing desk, and I'm seeing students every week. So it is actually really cool. I think it is the best part of my job. And I have actually students, students that I help, and after that they are just coming by to say hi, because I can remember that I helped them, and they can remember it as well. So I really think that we are approachable, and well, as I said, as a help desk, and I really think that students think exactly the same thing. So I can't wait for them to actually come. It is, if nobody's coming, because everything, so usually they are coming around when something doesn't work. When nobody's coming, I have a boring day.
Okay, interesting. Do you want to add to that, Martina? Or?
We're absolutely amazingly approachable when I'm speaking here as a member of staff. But from a student's point of view, I would not have even known that there is an IT department somewhere in the university in that year. We don't actually have a walk-in, unlike some of the other universities, so we are a phone and email only, which probably doesn't help. But as a student, if I kind of think out of the box, what would probably be the best for me would be if I could go anywhere in the university, not IT, because I don't know they exist, and explain the issue I'm experiencing, and whoever I speak to would take care of that and pass it to the right department. Whereas what I've had is I've had an issue with things not populating correctly in Moodle. So I went to see a student information point, and they've given me 100% accurate, but fairly complicated explanation of, well, if it's related to the technical side of Moodle, then you need to contact IT services. If it's related to the content as such, you need to speak to your lecturer or your program team. By the end of that speech, as a student, you probably walk away and don't actually bother reporting it. So even though it was 100% accurate, the information I was provided, it made me kind of think maybe we're actually not providing the right service here as a university.
Excellent. There was another question from that table. Chris, stop tweeting. Got you.
Allied to this, or that question, on a fairly broad scale, sort of very important, slightly important, doesn't really matter. How important is availability of support, i.e. 24/7, as a student or a customer?
Brilliant. Abdi, do you want to start off with that one, please? 24/7 support.
For me personally, you know, during my studies, I studied very late in hours, so having the option to be able to communicate on a regular basis was very useful. A lot of the third years that from my year that finished this year, they studied from all across the hours, and they needed availability of support, and they used all-nighters and all that stuff. So I like flexibility. The other thing is, I know mature students and part-time students and stuff like that, so maybe for them it'd be useful as well. So yeah.
Okay, Kellyanne, do you require support late in the day? So I'm just getting a drink.
I think every student tends to work late at night, because I don't think any student my age is a morning person. So we all work late at night, and support at that time, if something goes wrong, is crucial, especially if you've got an essay due the next day. Not only that, I think live chats would be a really good thing for IT services to have. So kind of like if you go on the Vodafone website, you can talk to someone straight away, live chats, and they can help you out with the problem, say ringing up or waiting for an email response. I think that'd be a really good idea. And
live chat's great. Who provides a live chat service here? That's great. That's something which we've talked about for a long time in the past. Who provides 24/7 support? My Twitter poll didn't work, so I'll just have to do it old school. And how many people are doing that through the use of Norman? There's a lot of Norman customers. They are Norman. Careful what we say now. More people in the room. So to put that in a bit of context, Chava, do you feel as though we should be offering 24/7 support through Norman? And what kind of support should Norman be giving you?
On a scale from 0 to 10, for me it is 0. So, because I don't need 24-hour support, I need to know when I can get support. So, for example, if I'm emailing, whatever, logging a call at 12 o'clock in the night, most of the times I'm not expecting that somebody will do it at 12 o'clock in the night, but I want it at 8 o'clock in the morning sorted. So I want to see, I'm expecting that it will be sorted at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. What I don't like to see, and I see it with companies, that you log a call, and even if you go into online chat, and they say, that, yeah, okay, that's fine, you need to call this number. And then where is the help? Because they are providing the chat, but it is actually not, it is like, there is a person who can tell me the information that I already know. So I need to know a time frame. And, well, we can get to SLA. So basically, what I would like to see is that my call, or my problem is sorted out in, let's say, during business hours, in 15, 20 minutes, an hour. And if it is not sorted, I want to know why and when it will be. For me, it is very important to know when my problem will be sorted. It is not really the time frame, because I can plan my own work towards that one, but when I don't know anything, then I cannot plan. And another thing as well, so that if there is an IT issue and I cannot submit my coursework, then I have a way to deal with it, because I have a ticket raised which proves that there was an IT issue and an extension is available.
Okay, following on from that, there's always or often a lot of talk about the Amazon model. You know, it's been used a couple of times yesterday and today about Amazon winning, you know, so many awards for customer service. And the fact is, you never speak to Amazon. It's all done through self-service. Is that something? You know, would an enriched self-service environment with a, you know, with the ability to solve all your issues, you know, through a web browser be useful, or would you still want that face-to-face contact or email contact or chat content? And if we ask Kelly that, because she mentioned the chat last time, but yeah, would the Amazon model work for you?
For companies, yes, but in university, I'm paying £9,000 a year. I want face-to-face contact. I want to know when I'm chatting to someone else on the other side, talking me through it. Not only that, from a business point of view, if you have a live chat, you're opening up opportunities to increase the size of your team, increase funding to your department. So it's good for both, I think.
That's really interesting. And to be honest, after all that, the £9,000 fee has only been brought up once. Right? So congratulations on on keeping that one at bay. But so you would prefer the face-to-face, and you feel as though you're paying for that kind of service, and that you should receive that kind of service. Anyone else got any views? Martina, from someone that needs to try and deliver support to students, how do you think that would work from your point of view?
I definitely think self-service is extremely valuable, but maybe more for staff than students. I would agree here with you that the web chat would have been a lot more useful. If you're having an issue in the middle of the night, filling out a nice web form isn't really going to do it. You need somebody to be there, so either on the phone or on a web chat. And yes, as a part-time student, you've got a job, and you're probably going to conferences and have got things planned, so you are desperately relying on that weekend time. So for me, a 24/7 support is really, really important.
So I can add chat to one of your objectives to deliver, and then you can
to
present on the journey for implementing chat within a 12-month period for next year.
I think that makes sense.
There we go. So we've got an objective set live on screen, and Martina will come and talk about how she's done it in the next 12 months, providing I make the funding available. Brilliant.
Can I ask a question? Is any of you providing video chat?
Video chat? Anyone providing video chat here? Will be. Bath.
Because as a student, that's what I would be interested in, so to actually see the person.
Oh, that could be scary.
I don't really think so that it will be scary. I think it will add a human touch, because nowadays bots are so good that sometimes you don't know whether you are speaking to a human. Try to phone, for example, Apple. You go through the entire thing, and they even recorded keyboard typing while you speak to the robot. Yeah.
We're rolling out Skype for Business for all of our students as well as our staff, and we're looking to integrate that with our help services, so that it's all fully joined up. So you contact us, we know who you are, we know what your tickets are, and you will be able to see us face to face. So we will then be able to kick that off into a Bomgar session if necessary to connect to your device, and it's all recorded. You'll be able to see us face to face.
I can see another session coming on from this panel session. Gordon's implementation of Skype for Business for Student Support. That can be on the Thursday afternoon next year. I think this is great. We're getting all these the insights. Is anyone else out there doing innovative ways of supporting staff or students? Sorry, Gordon, just you. Okay. Has anyone got another question? Another question from the room. About right.
Just while we're talking about communication and how we communicate with students, what are your feelings about how IT services communicate using social media?
Oh, the use of social media by IT services. Kellyanne, what do you think from Edge Hill's point of view?
Personally, I don't have Edge Hill on my social media accounts. I think social media is personal and should be kept separate from my studies, and that's what I've been taught in my degree, so I wouldn't know. I don't follow any of it, and many students, especially business students, are told not to cross over social media and your studies.
So the lecturers and your course leaders are telling you not to engage with the university on social media, yet university departments are trying to engage with students using social media. Conflict of interest there. It's a takeaway for Jenny. What about Abdi? How, because we've seen some examples of where Eleanor was using some social media.
So, like, when there's major incidents, I think they use a combination of Twitter and email. Twitter is good because it's simple, straight to the point, and it's not time-consuming. So you should go on Twitter. I follow my university IT service on Leeds Beckett and the library as well, as I mentioned. So yeah.
Shaba, what do you think from a social media point of view of a...
I think social media is good if it is done properly, but to do it properly, you need a specialist. So not everybody can design a social media campaign. So there are certain people trained to do that. They have a degree to do that one. So I think it should be organized and should be coordinated. So exactly what you were mentioning, that lecturers are saying something, universities say something else. Why is that happening? I don't really think that things like that should happen. And I see social media as a good thing. However, I'm not following on Facebook because I keep that private, but I do Twitter, and I still consider email good.
Okay. Martina, I know that...
Yeah, it's difficult to differentiate completely, but personally as a student, I did not engage with the university via social media at all. Obviously, I already follow our IT services via Twitter as a member of staff, but I didn't feel any need to check on what IT is doing as a student via social media. But I did engage with the mobile app a lot. So our Moodle, or our virtual learning sort of environment, or the MyMMU we call it, which has everything the student needs. And that was really, really important throughout my studies. So I guess there could be an opportunity there for communicating with students through that, or for those, I guess, who don't engage with social media as much as others.
Hopefully within this discussion, UCISA have tweeted out about their social media toolkit as well, that is available. So there's a little plug there, because some work has been done on that in the past. Next question. In the middle.
Hey.
For your
Hi
step
there.
count, is it?
I'm interested what the panel think about electronic registration to lectures and things like that as a technology moving forward.
Abby?
Can you repeat the question again, sorry?
Electronic registration.
Oh, right, attendance. So, like, monitoring attendance.
Yeah, attendance monitoring, essentially. What are your views on attendance monitoring?
I think attendance monitoring is useful to know how you're performing and how you're attending your lessons. I think, what was it again? I can't, can I get back on the question?
Kind of what's your feelings towards attendance monitoring? So there's a big push to make sure that students are turning up to lectures and they're engaging.
Yeah, I think with that, attendance monitoring is useful for the university to know that you're attending your lessons, but for me, I think that shouldn't be the case. I think it's at the end of the day, it's a person's choice if they turn up to the lectures or not. They paid that financial agreement to study their course, and at the end of the day, it's up to the individual themselves. They're adults. They don't need to be holding hands like in college where they have to monitor attendance. So that's my views on that.
I've got a different view on the pen.
Check, is your attendance being monitored at the moment?
Not at the moment, but I think it's in the future they're considering it.
Kellyanne, do they do attendance monitoring at Edge Hill?
Yeah, in the business school, it's paper-based. We have to sign our name every time. So electronic would save about 20 minutes because we're passing it across the whole lecture theatre. So it would save a lot of time. But it's Big Brother's watching you, so you'd have to see what your students in university would want, really.
Is that a legal requirement to monitor attendance? Because I had a discussion like this with my school, because I hate to sign the attendance sheet. And I also think that it is bad for the lecturer, because the lecturer doesn't get a feedback. So I relate to my previous experience as a student in my home country. There were lectures where people were sitting on the stairs because there was just not enough space for all of them. And there were lectures where there were 3 or 4 people. And that gives you feedback. That means that your customer, as a student or as me, find the lecture not interesting. You need to change it. While if the lecturer it is monitoring attendance sheet, yeah, people can just come and sleep during the lecture. Who stops them?
Okay. Interesting. Another question. Go on, Chris.
Cheers. I've got a question and a bit of feedback on that. I think you're actually obliged to go to your lectures, so it shouldn't be an issue whether you sign in or out. If you don't attend your lectures, you won't be able to learn what you're meant to learn, and then you don't really have a leg to stand on when it comes to giving feedback to the lecturer. I think you should go to your lectures, and if you don't like it, say why. Don't not turn up. Personally.
I had a lecturer who was more unprepared than the student who was sitting in the lecture room. So basically my lecture went, he was reading the PowerPoint slide. Oh yeah, by the way, this slide says, what's the point for me to attend that lecture? I feedback this thing, so it is like, people can take it personal. I feedback with it, I'm not going to the lecture. So that should be the lecturer's feedback. So if nobody's attending, then there you go, you're doing something wrong. There is another thing that it has changed in RGU now. So I did, this is my second degree in RGU. During the first one, you all the time had feedback at the end of the module, which was not useful because I'm giving my feedback for the people who will start. So now they are doing it halfway through, and they are changing things. So I submitted one of my feedbacks, and yeah, after that the next lectures were changed.
Interesting. Have you got a question now?
Yeah.
Great.
With Bring Your Own Device, how much is there a need for loan equipment?
So, just to repeat, so for bringing your own device, or bringing your equipment into university, how much is there a need for loan equipment? So, would you make use of laptop loans? We've got LapSafe out there. One of our exhibitors, they provide a loan service. You know, we use it at MMU. Is it a service which you think we should be providing from an IT point of view? Abdi?
Yeah. I think with Bring Your Own Device, it's a good option, but for me, if I brought my own device, I could lose it, or there's a risk that, you know, that could be missing or stolen or whatever. Being able to loan device takes that fear away from me. So if I'm loaning the device, yeah, I am responsible, but I know if something happened, I'll get more support for it, and I'm not as much liable as, you know, I'm not saying it would happen, but I'm just saying, yeah. So yeah, that's my views on that.
Kellyanne, what do you think about bringing your own equipment in, or loaning equipment?
I think we still need to loan equipment because a lot of equipment has software on that we don't have access to at home, and a lot of software is expensive. During my placement, I've been using iSpring and Camtasia. Now, I've never heard of these before my placement, and I wouldn't have known where to get them, and I probably wouldn't have afforded them either. So having the equipment to borrow is very useful for students.
Should we be lending you the equipment or making the licenses more available so that you can install the software on your own device? You know, what would, you know, if we were to start from scratch, because there seems to be, you know, you want the equipment because it's got the specific software on, but should we just be making that available to you? What do you think?
Depends on the cost, isn't it?
Free. We made it free. Because we don't charge you for loaning laptops, do we?
Yeah, I meant for the university. The cost to download the software and distribute it that far and that wide. Not only that, it takes up a lot of space when you're working on it on your own laptops. And my laptop's for personal use and my part-time job outside of university, so it's helpful to have that.
That's interesting to know, really interesting. Abdi, what do you think about loan?
For me personally, during my first year, I didn't have a laptop or anything at the time, or so being able to loan a laptop was useful for me. I did require to download softwares like off cloud or at the library itself, and I think having more software available gives the person option, but be able to have information about it, because some softwares can take a lot longer than others, and I think you just need that fine balance support for that.
Okay. Next question. There we go.
So I think there are alternatives such as virtualizing, and I think there are people here that could perhaps talk more about that. So they actually virtualize the app, deliver it that way, rather than having to actually install it. But my actual question was, what technology do you see in the future that you think we should be looking at now? What do you see as the next thing?
Right, so I put Kellyanne on the spot now. What do you think the university should be providing in the future from a technology point of view? What would you like to go in and be able to have access to that you haven't got at home? Or
I'm probably the worst person to ask. I'd go back to say live chats again, really. That's what I think a lot of organisations and businesses are doing, so I think universities should jump on that. I'm not so sure about Skype and FaceTime with IT services, because it just seems like a slower method of delivering answers. It seems like if you're just typing it out, you get it done quicker rather than trying to explain it.
well, that's a really good answer, actually. Martine, what do you think? From a student's perspective, being a part-time student, what would you like us to provide to you?
I don't think there is any need for any groundbreaking technology just yet in the kind of day-to-day stuff. So getting the basics right first, I think, would be just fine. Like online exams, I'll say it again. Just going fully digital first, I think that would be a good step. But emerging technologies, I think, is something we have to consider as IT professionals for our students, because if we give them new technology at the beginning of their studies, by the end of their studies, it's already old technology. So actually, we have to give them emerging technologies so that at least when they're finished, at least they kind of know the new technology then. So anything we can do, I think, in terms of graphene and virtual reality, which we have seen people are already using, even if it's just on an experimental level, any kind of wearable technology, even if it's, obviously, we can't issue wearable technology to everyone, but at least giving them the kind of heads up, this is coming and this is really going to be a big thing in the future. If we can do that for them, we're going to give them a great head start when they're finished their studies and find their first job.
Abdi, have you got anything to add to that?
From my opinion, I think in terms of the future technology, I think business intelligence is a big one, because, for example, on Facebook, with Facebook, what you can do now, it's, from the searches or the people you follow, the pages you follow, it tailors the searches or recommends stuff based on what you search. I think if that could be applied to an IT service, that could be good, because, for example, if you're downloading a similar sort of software every single time, maybe recommending stuff based on what you need. The other thing I'm thinking of is more cloud resources. I think having that flexibility to get your own programs or get that support without wasting storage space on your device or saving you a lot of time. I think that's two key things, but yeah.
Of course, the virtualisation that was brought
Yeah.
up. We do have time for probably one more question before we do a quick summary. Has anyone got a final question? If not, I have. Funnily enough, so I've got a sheet of paper right at the back there.
Hi. I just might be covering some already talked about topics here, but what's your favourite aspect of your IT services in your establishments, and what's the worst aspect as well, please?
Right. So question is, what do you like best and what do you like worst about IT? Go on, Abdi, you could take this one first, because Sally can feed that directly back.
What I like best about my IT is the focus on putting the people at the heart of the service. I think at the end of the day, you're providing a service to the people. They're your main number one people you need to please. The worst would be student engagement, but I think from my own experience in the past as a student rep, I think it's not easy to engage with students, but it's something that could be worked on, but yeah.
Student engagement's the...
Student engagement, because I'm heavily involved with my student union, and with my student union, we had, over the last 2 years, we had difficulties with engagement with students, but I think if you have more communication between all departments within the university and the SU, you got that platform to communicate with students and improve student relations. I think my student union is not as utilised as it could be, and I'm working to work hard on it to improve that after I finish my placement, so yeah.
Okay, Kellyanne, what do you like best about Edge Hill's IT department?
Everyone's friendly. Yeah, and it's really, when you go in there, if you've got a problem, it's dealt with straight away. I mean, there's 4 people sat there waiting for anyone to come in. So as soon as a student asks a question or has a problem, it's getting dealt with there on the spot.
Sounds like a bit overstaffed to me. And 4 people there waiting. And what do you like least about it, apart from the inefficiencies of staffing?
The location, I'd say, because it's in a back building on the campus. Not many students go that way, not many students know where it is. They could probably look at posting someone in the student union or having someone go to student rep meetings, because I'm a student rep myself, and at meetings IT has brought up a lot of different things, so it'd be useful if a representative from the IT services was there.
Okay, that's great. So the hours passed really quickly, and I want to thank everyone for engaging. One question I have for Martina before we go is, what have you been able to influence anything that you've kind of received as a student that you can now change or make better as a member of staff?
I think more changes will be coming in the next 12 months, but the one thing that I can think of right now is when I first got my offer a year ago in May, then there was a long period of complete silence from the university, and I was almost starting to get worried that it's not going to happen. So actually there is a bit of an opportunity there to do some communication with students. And then I finally got the email inviting me to enrollment in August, so mid-August. And the email was, to put it lightly, shocking. It looked like something that was written in the 70s. It had no formatting. The bullet points weren't really bullet points, and it was a wall of text. And there was a few more emails like that confirming my enrollment and other steps. So I have mentioned this to our enrollment manager, and we kind of looked at it together. And to get it changed, it required 3 separate departments to talk to each other. And I guess previously there wouldn't be the one person who would know who those 3 departments need to be and get them talking to each other. So that's what we're in the process of doing right now, is to get those emails properly formatted, updated, because we know it is possible, as we have been receiving recently emails from the Vice-Chancellor about the EU referendum, which look amazing. They look like they're from this century. HTML formatting and logo and everything, as you would imagine. So that's kind of the first outcome I'm working on right now.
Brilliant. Well, that does bring us to the end of the student panel. I hope you found it engaging. I know lots of people have been taking notes. Hopefully you can take some of this feedback back. I know certainly there's so many things, especially on delivery of it and the importance of chat and engagement with the students. I'd just like you all to join with me and thank Kellyanne, Martina, Abdi and Charbal for their time today. Thank you very much.